Hi, I'm Martin Heap. I own Heap's Sausage Shop in Greenwich. I'm going to show you a delicious sausage recipe. I'm going to show you how to make a delicious sausage stew. And this is a pork and apple sausage. They're always available in most of the major supermarkets. Now, what I'm going to do is cook the sausages in cider alongside celery, carrot, and apple and onion. Now, the apple you don't prepare until the very last minute, simply because we want it to stay nice and green and white, not discolouring at all through oxidisation. So I'm going to just take out the core, and I'm going to cook this in a pan on the top of the stove. I'm not going to put this in the oven, although you could put it in the oven. It's quite acceptable to do so. So these pieces are then roughly cut into thickish slices. Right, so all of the ingredients are ready to be used. I've preheated a pan on the stove. I'm going to add some butter to the hot pan. I'm going to take some flour and lightly flour each of the sausages and just start them in the butter. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to seal the sausages and simultaneously begin by making a roux which will thicken as I cook this. I don't want it too thick, but you can see it's picked up quite a bit of flour, and you can see the butter is foaming quite nicely. Now I've got on the back of my stove a large pan ready to make this. And what I want to try and get here is a very, very light golden brown colour. But what I'm going to do now is lift the sausages that are just lightly sealed into the cooking pot. I'm going to add all the vegetables and the apples into the pan. And just give them a light sealing. I'm not going to overdo this. I don't want to burn the butter and the flour. I want them to be able to thicken when I add the cider to the actual stew. I want it to just have a light coating over the actual sausages. I'm going to finish this also with a little cream, which will enrich the dish. You'll notice the way I've trimmed these vegetables. They're all roughly the same size. The apples are the same size as the carrots, the celery, and the onion pieces. If I cut them irregularly, then there's a likelihood that they could burn during the cooking process. Okay, that's about enough. You can see that there's a little light colour on there. And when I add the cider, I'm not going to add any other liquid at all. This will come back to the boil, and the flour and the butter together will combine and slightly thicken this. By the time this is cooked through, you're going to have a very consistent sauce. Now, I'm going to add some pepper. I reckon from start to finish, you're looking at a dish here that will cook and be ready to eat in about 30 minutes. I'm going to add just a pinch of salt, not too much, and perhaps one other flavour that will really work very well with this is some sage, fresh sage. Now, you can leave the sage in whole pieces, and if it's for 3 people, you can use it to decorate at the end. So there we go. These have been washed, and I'm going to add them to the stew now. Lid on it, bring it to the boil. Just coming up to the boil now. I'm going to regulate the gas so it just simmers very gently. Just coming up to the boil. You can add more salt and more pepper later on when you know that the product is, or the dish is ready to eat. The problem with adding too much now is the salt and the contents of the sausage are going to give you a contributing flavour to the finished dish. We need to see how that develops during the cooking process, and then when we're ready to serve it, we can correct the seasoning then. This sausage stew has now had 25 minutes approximately, nearly half an hour, and I think it's ready. Now, you're not really going to be looking for anything more than that the vegetables are quite soft. The sausages will definitely be cooked. They've also contributed to the sauce. The only thing I'm going to do is just add a drop of cream. You don't need very much, just incorporate it. I'm going to finish it with a bit of ground pepper. We're not quite sure of the salt content, so we'll have a look at that now. Perhaps a little more salt. And put it into your bowl. As with most foods, it's rather pale. So I think I'm just going to add just a little green from the parsley. Pork and apple with cider, cream, root vegetables as a sausage stew.